Good evening, good afternoon, folks. Welcome to the Legendary Sports Podcast. I am your host, GSR, aka Gabriel. I want to thank you for joining me on this lovely afternoon. And as we continue to grow this podcast from the ground up, I appreciate every last one of you being here with me. Today, we're going to go over Micah Parsons, his 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 sacrifice to say I'll take less money to grow the team. I want to get this done earlier, and how that'll impact the team, and actually, if anybody will actually listen to what he has to say. Also, I will go in a little bit deeper. We'll dive into why didn't Dak say that. So, once again, welcome to the Legendary Podcast, Legendary Sports Podcast. Let's get into it. So, Micah, let's talk about Micah Parsons. Micah, cornerstone, generational talent. Um, as we all know, best player on the team by any metric, missed 5 games this year and still had 14 sacks. Completely different defense when he's on there. In a lot of aspects, he is the entire pass rush for the team. If you compare the amount of sacks he had before, the team had before he was injured, and after he came back, it's night and day, like night and day. It's not even a comparison. Oh, number 11 out there is a game breaker, and he is a generational player, and you need to keep him at all costs, which isn't that hard. Um, well, at least he's if he's a man of his word, he's not going to make it that hard for you. So recently, Micah had some comments that he doesn't need to be the highest paid non-quarterback. He doesn't need to be the highest paid defensive player in the league or history. He just wants a fair wage, and he's willing to take less to allow the Dallas Cowboys, who are historically cheap in the last 20 years, have the financial flexibility to go out and sign other players. That's what he said. We just at this point we have to take a man at his word and say we have to believe him because he has not shown us anything else, which to me is incredible. So he could clearly be 25, 30 million a year player easily. Osa, the defensive tackle for the Cowboys, is looking at a 4-year, $90 million extension, about 21 per year. If that's what he gets, Micah could get 40 easy, 30, 40, 35, 40 easy a season if he wanted to hold out and take the Cowboys to the bank and get everything he wants. I mean, that's what Dak did. That's how he ended up with 60 million a year, which is kind of inflated. It'll go down as the years pass, but he's a $60 million a year quarterback. And unlike the situation with Dak, it's not about being. It's not. It's some. When Dak was a situation of being next, not being the best. Micah is literally one of the best. And if he hit the open market, it'd be a bidding war. And that's something the Cowboys historically don't want, and they lose because they do not spend the cheddar. They don't come off it. We all know that. Jerry is still living on this, like we said last podcast, Jerry's still living off this old, early 90s gunslinger mentality. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll spend the money, which we all know he doesn't anymore. It's not what he does. That's not his jam. He doesn't rock like that anymore. Why? I mean, we went to it last podcast, but that's just not who he is. But here's a situation where you have your best player on the team who's coming up for a contract who said, I will take less if you guys do more. If me taking less helps the team get better, then that's what I'll do. And that's what he wants to do. That is literally what everybody complains about in the modern day player. They're all for theirs. Why do they're selfish. They don't care about the team. Why does Tom Brady praise so much? He always took lesser contracts to allow the Patriots to still be more flexible around him. so they can keep key players around him, so he can do his thing and the team can still be competitive. That's why we love Tom Brady. Well, some of us do, but that was part of the lore of Tom Brady, the ore, so to speak, of Tom Brady. But here's Micah saying the exact same thing. Micah saying, "Hey, I'm going to take less. I, well, he's not working for free. He's not going to do bare minimum like the Cowboys want to. But that's what he's saying. I'm willing to take less in order to make this team work and spend in free agency to get the one or two players that we need to get over the hump." And I think that's incredible. So, for comparison's sake, let's take a look at this. Nick Bosa, rusher, out kind of a hybrid position on Micah, even though he's plays more traditional DN than Micah. Well, we'll see how that goes this year with the new coaching staff. 28, averaging 34 mil a year. Always hurt. Josh Hines Allen, 28 years old as well. 28 mil a year. Brian Burns on the Giants. Great pickup on last season. 28 million a year. Now TJ Watt, perennial all pro, one of the best in the game. Future Hall of Famer if you ask me. 31. Make it 28. Then you drop a few. Myles Garrett on the Browns. We'll see how long he's on the Browns. Myles Garrett, he's making, let's see, about 25 mil. And then he goes around there. Montez Sweat, Daniel Hunter, Rashawn Gary, they're all around 24, 20, 24 mil, 23, 22 mil a year. And then we round up with Max Crosby, who is averaging 23 and a half. Micah easily can command the Nick Bosa contract, if not more. He's more. That's what he could command. Now, if he's willing to take less than that, because Nick Bosa is a potential cap cut, just like his brother this year. Why? Because makes he's maxed out on his contract. 34 mil for oft injured defense end is a lot to hold on to. So here's the franchise player on our team, Micah, stating that, hey, I'm going to take a little off the top for you. I'm ready to work with you. If you're willing to help work with the team, I think that's incredible. That's an admirable trait, and that needs to be glorified. And instead of talking about a podcast where he spends 1 hour out of his week to talk about the league, we talk about that. We'll talk about that till the cows come home. But what we won't do is uplift this dude and see if tell him to put his money where his mouth is, which I believe he will, because Micah wants to win over anything else. And if he's willing, so what if he does? If he's not asking for, so if Nick Bosa's getting 34 mil a year, what if he's not asking for 36, 37? What if he's not even asking for 34? What if he will say, hey, instead of 34, I'll meet you in the middle. What if I take 25? What if I take 25 a year? I know in my heart, I'm the best. I'm the best pass rusher we got, and one of the best in the league. It's not an ego thing. I see where I'm coming from. Let's do this. I'll do that if you help us. If me taking 25 instead of 34, or not even 30, can get us, I don't know. Let's say impact players that allows us to trade for a Cooper Cup, that allows us to trade for a Devontae Adams, which I prefer. We'll talk about that. I prefer us drafting a receiver, but we'll talk about that in other episodes. But if he's willing to do that, why not work with him? So far, he's been met with resistance for whatever reason. Jerry, they haven't opened up talks at all. They usually wait till late in the summer to do these type of things, which is why Dak got 60, why CD held out for camp, why You don't have any flexibility to do financial things in free agency because you wait too long and you just don't do anything about it. Also, by him saying that, that allows the Cowboys to go out and build a defense around him. Can Micah Parsons be the best player on a on your defense for a championship team? Absolutely, no doubt in my mind. Shouldn't even take a second to think about it. And why is that? Because he's Micah freaking Parsons. He is a monster. He's been a monster ever since he came in the league. This is the first. I mean, he's working. He's gotten better each year. He's gets banged up, nicked in there, but that comes along with the territory of playing football. I mean, he's a lighter pass rusher. He's not 275 pounds. That's not his game. You know, he's a speed rusher. He's an edge rusher, and he can drop back and cover, which you really don't want him to do. But we'll see what the new coach, what Matt Eberflus, does with that. Sounds like, for all intents and purposes, he's going to be putting his hand down and rushing the passer, which is what he's best at. And for that, I'm all down for that. So that's great. But him taking less money will allow you to, if it allows you to sign an OSA, if it allows you to go out and, I prefer them to upgrade over Jordan Lewis if you can. But if you can't, you can re-sign him because Jordan Lewis played for peanuts last year because he wanted to be in Dallas. But that doesn't mean he's going to now. He has a market out there. Last year he was coming off an injury. You know, the devil, let me just rehab, come back to Dallas and try to rename my, restock my value, which is what he did. Shout out to Jay Lou. That's exactly what he did. And he's good at it. He did a great thing. And that's the name of the game. That's what he did. And so now he has a market. And is that market going to allow the Cowboys to continuously lowball him? No. He's from Detroit. Detroit needs defensive help. Look what happened to them in the playoffs. They got beat to crap by injuries. And he was healthy for the most part this year. And he had a standout year for a nickel corner. What if he wants to go home? And Cowboys, you can't offer him 1 year, $3 million this year. What if he gets a 3 for 9? You gotta think about that. So that's even more incredible. As why I respect Micah Parsons even more because he's willing to take less to do the work to make sure the Cowboys can sign more players. This attitude brings us around to our next topic as our $60 million quarterback. Why did this Dak Prescott not say the same thing in order to keep this team afloat? Honestly, to defend Dak a little bit, who says he didn't? Dak is a very private in negotiation, and he could have easily said these things, and nobody paid attention to him, which is also very, very possible. The way Jerry does, or this is the third time Dak is going through this negotiations, and every time you could have paid him for less, you didn't. You gave him offensive offers and lowballed him, and made him wait until he made you desperate. Until he calls your bluff. My only thing with Dak is here, get your money. Life's short. Your careers are short. You've had some pretty ugly injuries, 2 ugly injuries now. So let me make that very clear. I am all for Dak getting his every cent he can. I just wish he had more of a. It's not the player's responsibility to handle the cap. Let me make that very clear. It's not Dak's job to do Jerry Jones' job or Stephen Jones' job and make sure everything comes in under the cap. That's not how he rolls. That's not what he's supposed to do. So let me make that very clear. I'm happy for Dak. He got his contract. I blame Jerry Jones for waiting too long and getting it done like this. What if I was Dak? I would say this. On the other hand, why Dak didn't say, "Let me make a team-friendly contract"? Why didn't he? I wish he'd had that Tom Brady attitude. He did not. Nothing against Dak. It would have helped the team out very tremendously, potentially. But seeing how this team does their spending, who's to say that if Dak said, "Hey, I'll just take 55," which were reports were he was looking at around those numbers. But things went on. He went other things. He has no trade clause in his contract. Can't be franchise tagged. That's just art of negotiation. Today's price isn't yesterday's price. The price went up. The longer you alienate somebody and tell the world they're not good enough and deserving of a contract, or they're the reason that you can't do X, Y, and Z, this is what happens. So that's my synopsis on that contract. I wish he would have took less. I don't blame him for taking every cent. Just my personal opinion. I wish he would have took less, or he would have signed for less to give the team flexibility. Although there are no guarantees in life. If Joe Burrow's getting, is Dak better than Joe Burrow? No. Joe Burrow's getting 55. But as we know in sports with quarterbacks, it's not about being the best, it's about being next. And if the Cowboys would have signed Dak earlier, he could have got a Jalen Hurts contract. He could have been around 25, 30 and spread it out more. You know, as all NFL teams do, kick the can down the road when they re-sign quarterbacks. But two different contracts, two different approaches. One with history. I think Micah, of course. Micah, of course, saying that he was willing to take less to keep the team financially flexible. And one saying, "Hey, pay me what you owe me. I've done this before, and you still don't do it. You still don't invest the money into the teams. So why should I not get all of mine?" Who's to say which approach is wrong? I say the Dallas Cowboys in general are wrong. Their approach to contracts, as we talked about on the last podcast, is wrong. So, with all that being said, we're gonna go into this next. I feel we're going to this next segment. Starting off by saying, Micah, I love their approach. I love the energy, man. You're lying for a reason. You deserve every cent that you can get, and if you feel like going out and getting 34 mil or 35 mil, I won't hold against you. I like the fact that you're willing to take less to help the team spend. Dak, I don't hold against you. Dak took the approach. He got every cent he could because he's done the team thing. He's been a team guy. He sacrificed a lot for this team. And where did the money go anyway? They weren't spending it anyway. So why not get every cent that he can? Respect both approaches. I like Micah's better. Don't hold it against Dak. I just like Micah's approach better. If, if, if the team is willing to work with him, if he actually does take less, we'll see if he comes in how much. Because for all we know, he says, I don't need to be paid 35 mil. That doesn't mean he's going to take 20. That doesn't mean he's going to take 22. But if he takes like 25, that'll put his money where his mouth is. And that'll help the team. But also that goes into the question, will the team actually take that savings and spend it on the right players? Not necessarily going out and crashing out and spending every cent in free agency like you like some fans are calling for. I'm not calling for that. I want you to be selective. I like the term Steven used, even though I think it's selectively aggressive. Identify your targets and go after them. And make sure you improve the team in certain areas. Don't just wait till after the draft and get some veteran minimum guys who are past their prime. That doesn't work. It didn't work. That's how we got in this situation that we are this year. That's a short-term outlook that doesn't look. If Micah signs a 4-year 25, a 4-year 100 million extension, all for it. If he signs a 4-year 120 million extension, which he deserves, all for it. But whatever you do, spend wisely. No point in uh, taking a haircut off your salary if the team's not willing to do what they need to do and spend. Just want to thank you for joining me on this another legendary sports podcast with me, hanging out with me for these 20, 25 minutes or so. I appreciate all the love and support. Thank you as we continuously get this thing going and try to grow it from the ground up. I love that you're rocking with me, and we'll see how we're going to take this to the top. We're going to start at the ground floor. We're going to keep climbing. We're getting better each week, and that's why I take the time to tell you that I appreciate you, no matter how corny it is. I appreciate every last one of your likes, and views. Please subscribe to all the social media listed in the profile, listed below, and continue to support. I appreciate every last one of you. This has been a legendary sports podcast with your host GSR. Thank you. Have a blessed day. See you next week.